I am a professional wrestling fan. It's not a phase. My parents definitely thought it was a phase. There is a lot of old merchandise that I had bought that I wish I still had that they threw away because it was just a phase. I'm going to say real estate agent just because of the family life, but if given the opportunity, I might be WWE bound. I did youth ministry for a while. I did that for about 10 years. That's actually what my degree is in from Liberty University. And after that, did some marketing for Chick-fil-A that turned into a management role that turned into other restaurants. So I would say that I was a restaurant manager in a former life for some pretty big companies that people would know. It's all customer service. I could even, when you go to a restaurant, you have a bad experience, that manager can fix that bad experience if they know customer service. Food was bad, service took too long, server was rude, that manager can fix it if he knows customer service. Same rules apply in real estate. There are things that are completely outside of our control that we can't control. The lender, we can't control the underwriter, the appraiser, the home inspector, but I can make things right with the right amount of customer service. I got to Tommy Morgan in July of 2019. Had joined up with another real estate agent for about a year before that, and as a listing coordinator, and really sat back, kept my mouth shut, my ears open, and learned how to do it. And she went on to do other things, and so it was time for me to go off and do things by myself. And came over to Tommy Morgan. I already knew a few people here, and between people that I knew already here and some of the deals that I had been a part of that had gone really well with some agents that are here, so I made my way over to TM. Digital, you can 100% do a transaction now all through the computer up until the closing section. The most difficult part of the job, I would say, is managing expectations. We have HGTV, which is a blast to look at and to watch on TV, but it's not always reality. It's just like any other reality TV show that you watch. It's there for ratings. And so managing your expectations. We're not going to go look at 3 perfect properties and sit down around a park bench and mochas and talk about them, and that's just not reality. And we are going to get all your wants and needs and consider them and that sort of thing, but I'd say managing expectations is probably the hardest thing. And the other hardest thing is there's a lot of people that are involved. This is not just a buyer and seller have agreed to get a house. There's banks involved, there's lenders, loan officers, appraisers, home inspectors, there's underwriters. Being able to manage all of those people in a way that gets us to the closing table in 21 to 30 days. If you've got a buyer or a seller, they've already made the decision that they're going to buy or sell something. I'm not selling you on buying something. I'm not selling you on selling, more than likely. I'm not saying that it never happens, but it's definitely a management game, and it's a relationship game. So by the time that we're going to hang out as a buyer or seller for the next 30 days if you're the buyer, and we're going to hang out maybe for the next 6 months if you're the seller, depending on market conditions and how things are going. We're going to get to know each other. Like it's cliche, and I don't mean to be that, but we're going to become family. Now, it is definitely more than a transaction. You may go buy other things where you're there for a couple of hours, you sign some paper and you go away. We're going to get to know each other pretty well. No, it's not really the case, and that's one of the reasons I got in, because I do have a family that's, we're in theater and band and football and softball and ballet, and we're in all the things. And the one thing that I will say is I do have a lot more control over my schedule, but I don't really have it. Maybe I should say I have a lot more flexibility over my schedule, but it's not 100% control. If you work a 8 to 5 job Monday through Friday, I can't expect you to go look at houses 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We're going to go at 6 o'clock at night. We're going to go at 7 o'clock at night. We're going to go on Saturday. Maybe you got that Monday holiday off, and we're going to go. And so sometimes that means missing those things because, hey, this is my job. I've got to sell when the person buying is available. I'm going to come with a CMA, comparative market analysis of what I believe your property could sell for. And you've got to understand, as the seller, the more you make, the more I make. if I give you a price, it's because it's really what I think it's for. If I tell you that your property is worth $225, it's because I really think that your property would sell at $225. If you decide to list it at $325 and we're $100,000 off, will we do it? Yeah, we'll do it. It is your property to sell, but at the same time, we're going to manage the expectation that we're probably not getting an offer for some time, and we're probably going to have to do reductions. Whereas on the other side of that, if I tell you your property is worth $225 and you say, hey, I need to get rid of this thing, let's do it at $180, you may end up with 4, 5, 6 offers that get you above the $225 mark. So pricing is huge. That is definitely more than putting the sign in the yard. It's having a strategy. Now there is a little bit of gamble in listing below where we think it is, but it's usually one that pays off, especially in today's market where listings are tight. You can still get multiple offers if you price it right. You've also got to have a little bit of curb appeal to it. Now that doesn't mean you have to go hire a landscape company and spend thousands and thousands of dollars outside, but it needs to be clean when we come up. As soon as a buyer comes on property, they need to be able to see themselves living there, and so curb appeal is a huge deal. And that may mean getting a landscape company. That just depends on how much you want to make, how much of an investment you want to do. You may or may not need to paint the inside. You definitely need to clean.
You've got to price it right. You've got to keep it ready to show. You can't sell a house if you've always got to say, hey, come in 2 or 3 days, give me time to pick it up and clean it up. So keep it ready, and you've got to market it. You cannot just put a sign in the yard and hope people drive by. That's not how it happens anymore. We're in a social world. People have got to be able to find you on Google, Facebook, X, all those places. You got to be seen. You got to be visible. You got to do all those things.
Affordability is a huge issue right now. We've got people who, hey, you got a pay raise at work, you're making more money than you've ever made before, but prices of everything is more than it's ever been before, and so it's almost flushed out any gain that you made in your income. And the same is true in real estate, whereas a few years ago, yeah, prices were high, but rates were low, and so we kind of balanced things out. Well, now prices are still high, and now rates are high. And so you're paying more for the house than you would have paid a few years ago. And that's a real challenge that people are having to get past. One of the things that I'm hoping that people can see and hear is that the rate is temporary. The housing prices are probably going to continue to appreciate and climb. So you may be getting in a house at, say, $250 for a 7% interest rate right now and think, man, that's just really high. Well, you still got in the house at $250. In a few years, that rate's going to come down. You can refinance, and now I've got a 4% interest rate, and it's a little more manageable. If we're waiting to do something, yeah, you may get that 4% interest rate, but that house that was $225 today may be $350, $375 in a few years, and we really didn't do a whole lot other than trade off, are we paying the interest and principal? So definitely having the mindset, and I get it. Hey, the money is what the money is. You can either afford it or you can't afford it. I understand, but if you can afford it, it is definitely a time to get in before the cost of the house continues to appreciate above. We're rich. They definitely misunderstand that, especially if they see top producer by your name, like, oh, that guy's rich. Hey, I got a family and bills and stuff just like anybody else does, and so and it may be. Whereas you may get a paycheck on Friday or on the 15th or on the last day of the month, I may go a month or so without having one. And that's not me crying about it. I know the game and what I've signed up for, but that's definitely a misconception. Another misconception is that we just go and open the house so that we can walk through it. That's probably the easiest part of the job, is to actually go and unlock the house and walk through it. Whenever we start getting into estates and finding heirs and finding out that there's a title issue and managing a seller that's divorcing and the two parties won't talk to each other anymore and we're going into default and we've got a bank. Hey, those are the things that we don't talk about. We don't put it on Facebook. It's people's private information, but and that's just one example. There are tons and tons of examples of that where we manage a lot of moving parts that come through, but people definitely think we just open doors. And so this is stressful enough without me adding to it. So I try to be a little bit of high energy, a little bit of fun, as much fun as we can be in it. I also try to not cause problems, which may sound funny, but there are definitely agents that you may come across that cause issues because they want to be the hero and fix the problem. And definitely not going to find that over here. If anything else, I want it to be as smooth as possible, and I want to call you at the least amount of times as possible between the time that you put in an offer and the time that we close. And what I mean by that isn't to say that I'm avoiding you. It's to say that I'm going to handle it. You are paying me a commission. You're paying me an income to handle this for you, and my goal is to handle as much of it as I possibly can without having to bother you.